My name's Tracy L. I've been involved with Solve for about 4 months. I was first diagnosed with major depression when I was 19 after a very difficult relationship. I was young. I was newly out, and it triggered a bunch of stuff for me, and that was, when it first blossomed, I guess. I was able to go and get my BA in psychology, and then I went and got my MBA. And pretty much I was able to hold down real jobs, worked with Disney, worked with Nickelodeon, worked with House of Blues, but when I was working at Disney, I had my first major episode, and I created my own nonprofit production company on top of having my job, and basically had a complete manic episode with elements of psychosis, ideas of reference. I thought I could solve Armageddon with putting together Disney and the Dalai Lama to create films about empathy and compassion, and of course this would change the world. I did a music video of a lady whose music I thought would change the world and heal the world, and all of those things that we see in the movies, I thought I was living in a movie, basically. And I was also studying Buddhism at the time, and the thought was, with our thoughts we create the world. And these are all great things to talk about, and they're wonderful things to muse over, but for someone that's in a manic episode, it's not healthy. So I did end up being hospitalized twice. I am very thankful for my family. I would not be alive without my family. And I finally, about 6 months after that episode, I was able to go back to a job, not where I was before, obviously, and it was a job. It was a job where you just get up and you go to work and you do your best, and there you go. I was there for 5 years, and I was piecing back my life, because a manic episode is just pure, destruction of your life as you knew it. Most of your friends will dump you. Any kind of contacts, I had built up a lot of contacts in the television industry in Orlando, and they were all gone. It was like, you have to change your entire career. Your entire reputation is blown, and now you need to pick up the pieces and start over. So I was doing that, and I got the opportunity to go work for the House of Blues in New Orleans as their business manager, and I said, heck yeah. And so I went there, and I really thought that was going to be like, my Cinderella job, and it wasn't. And I was brought out to Lucasfilm out here in California, and this is pretty much how my work history has gone. I've worked with great companies. I was doing the business management, the finance and accounting side of things, and I always wanted to be on the creative end, but I was told constantly, you're not creative, you're a number cruncher, you're a bean counter. And that's just deadly for me. It's a soul death, to hear somebody say that for me. And so I went back into the music side of the business. I was working with the Fillmore and the Warfield, Bill Graham Presents. But again, this is what, it has kind of plagued my professional career, is that I can you know, capitalize on the hypomanic side of things where, you know, you can get everything done, you're, you know, juggling all these tasks. It's what, you know, I would be, you know, the premier employee that could multitask and be at the top of their game and work 70 hours and, you know, be charismatic and dynamic and get things done. And then it would, you know, my energy would drop. So, I was working with the San Francisco Symphony. I don't know if it's okay to keep referring to these things, but I was their operations manager a few years ago, and I thought again, okay, I've come back to a good place. I feel like I've caught up 10 years later to where I had been, and again, couldn't maintain energy. And at some point, I had started attending a 12-step group for food addiction, and I had lost 184 pounds, and so I was 115 pounds. I was, you know, the lady, you know, with the nice business suits and, you know, well coiffed and all that kind of stuff. And suddenly I wasn't sleeping, and my medication apparently had stopped working. I've been on the same medication, I should have said that before, since my first manic episode, and I've been hospitalized. So when that happened, my psychiatrist said, okay, the 12-step program I was in, also there was a huge faction that looked down upon the use of psychoactive medication, and I think they, you know, viewed it as a spiritual flaw. And unfortunately, I think I had absorbed some of that stigma, and so when my medication stopped working, and they don't tell you, oh, by the way, it might stop working 10.5 years later. That's when I went to my psychiatrist and said, I can't sleep, I haven't slept in days, I need help. And he took me off all of my medication at once and did not bring me up on something else like lithium or Lamictal or any of the other mood stabilizers, and I went into a manic episode, except this was more of a panic, anxiety-ridden, paranoid kind of manic episode. And I eventually had to be hospitalized. I was in partial hospitalization for 6 months, which was a godsend. I had gotten to the point where I couldn't get out of my house. Basically, I started going to classes for film production and television production. I have a great psychiatrist, have a great group that I meet with weekly in Berkeley, Berkeley Bipolar. And I am very, very lucky to have pulled out of one of the most serious depressive episodes I've ever been in. No, it's the most depressive episode I've ever been in, and I think it's just through the right medications, the right doctors, the right therapists, also community, getting back in church. I sing in a choir, and finding things that bring me joy again. And so I look at it as joy therapy. A friend of mine had been dying of brain cancer, and so she would engage in little tiny things that would bring joy to her, and she called that joy therapy. And I said, wow, that's what I need. And so that's been my story. And about 4 months ago, I was told by somebody in my bipolar group about this organization. And I had missed, when I was in the 12-step group, I would do a lot of public speaking. And I missed doing service because I believe that this illness, bipolar disorder, is part of my makeup, just like my gender or my faith, or my genetics or whatever. And, you know, in life, our greatest challenge is just to be who we are. And in my, in my belief, the most important thing that I can do is bring help to another person and say, I have been there and there is hope. And one of the reasons I was so happy to go and talk at the LGBT Center was because of all of the recent suicides. And, well, the recently publicized suicides. I think that mental illness in our community, in the LGBT community, is something that we quash, just like domestic violence issues. For me, I would just say, to that gay, lesbian, trans person, there are people out there, and it's just like coming out. And people will come up to you and say, thank you so much, for saying something. I haven't had, the wherewithal, I've been scared. And coming out with mental illness it's just as hard, if not harder, because people get scared. Which is very, very similar, because there's that discrimination at work, discrimination socially. Certainly people in the church, believe that sometimes that people who are mentally ill are spiritually flawed, as, sometimes the perception is that gay people or LGBT people are spiritually flawed. And the thing is find your community. Just find it, because there is a help or a support group out there for everybody. And it might be in your community, or if you're in a more rural community, or not San Francisco, the mothership, find something online, or maybe a telephone, support group. Something like that. I mean, I can't tell you how much my recovery is due to having people around me who know what it's like. I don't have to explain to them how hard it is some days just to get out of bed. I don't have to explain to them that, a couple days in a row I reach for the wrong medication and I catch myself, and that's a red flag. They already know who I am. I don't have to explain who I am to them. And when they speak, I learn more about myself. So I would recommend to the LGBT individual is find your own people. And we're out there.